live.
All right, everyone, thank you for joining us again. We are back with episode 11 for Let Your Words Count. I am Gary Gant. I am here with Ethan Merriweather.
Hello.
We ask you to remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. All that, again, helps the algorithm. Excuse me. Helps the algorithm, helps us grow, and we encourage you, again, to interact with us in the comments. Send in your suggestions for words. A lot of these words we pick are audience recommendations, and we'll pull from the audience comments there and shout you out if we use the word that you recommended. So today's word we're going through is going to be efficiency. One more time, again, we're doing this project to kind of make sure we're looking at words, understanding what they mean, applying them the right way, and making sure we minimize and avoid the misuse of words or the misapplication of certain things and try to make ourselves better, right? So looking at the word efficiency, the definition of the word efficiency refers to the ability to do something or produce something with the least waste of time, effort, or resources. Efficiency refers to the ability to do something or produce something with the least waste of time, effort, and resources. So, Ethan, did you have anything on the etymology or the history that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, so the etymology of it, the history and origins, the word efficiency comes from the Latin word efficiere, meaning to accomplish or to produce. It was first used in English in the 19th century, so it's a newer word, reflecting the increasing value placed on maximizing resources. Let me say that again. Reflecting the increasing value placed on maximizing resources. And I'm going to read a little bit more because I think it sounds kind of industrial, but we have a point that we're trying to make here with this because I think it's very important. All right. So the historical context of it, efficiency became a key term, during the Industrial Revolution when industries sought to maximize production and minimize waste. It's also central to management and economics, especially with the rise of lean manufacturing and productivity theories.
Very good.
Got a thought with that?
Yeah, so I think, and it's like you said, right? This is a word that kind of is introduced with industrializing civilization, right? And you and I both have had long careers in automotive engineering, so this is definitely a term that's near and dear to our hearts and something that we use and refer to all the time. This is one of those words that is such an important one. This spills over into the way I think about my life outside of work a lot, because I think this is a key way to kind of get things accomplished. You look at how do I get the best possible output, and it's not about finding a way to do that with the least effort, but what's the minimal effort and understanding what that effort gets in terms of the output, right? So if I put 5 minutes of time into something and I get something that's only 50% of the quality that I want, I realize I got to put more time into it. It's finding that balance of time and quality. And I think that, like you said, once, you're kind of looking at this industrial application of it, right? I kind of remember, you brought up a couple episodes ago the SMART acronym, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound route, right? So there's, sometimes coming out of work, there's ideologies that really, really stick with us.
Yeah.
And in terms of efficiency, a graphic that I saw some years ago that always stuck with me was the iron triangle.
Okay.
So the iron triangle looks at, in the three corners, it's whether it's good, fast, and cheap, right? So you're looking at the time, the time aspect of it, the quality aspect of it, and the cost aspect of it. So the cost aspect comes into play once we're talking about in industry. There's an application of efficiency outside of that, like you said, but you're kind of looking at that iron triangle. If you have, time, quality, and cost, you can only pick two.
Gotcha.
Right. So and again, you can look up the iron triangle and kind of see this, but basically, if you want a product that's good and cheap, it's not going to be fast. If you want a product that's fast and good, it's not going to be cheap. And if you want a product that's cheap and fast, it won't be good, right? So those, kind of looking at that aspect of how those three words play together is very important. If you have time to spare, right, you can make it good quality, and it's going to be expensive, right? So, again, looking at how these things play together, but, again, kind of taking it out of industry, it also can be applied to ourselves and to our lives. How do we make sure we're not being wasteful in the way we approach certain things? How do we make sure we're only spending the resources that we really, really need to get the outcome and the output that we want? Yeah. And knowing that relationship is important, right?
Yeah. I think that was great. And you call it the Iron Dragon.
Iron Triangle.
I think about Cedar Point.
Right, you got Cedar Point in the brain soon, bro. Soon, couple months.
Yeah, the Iron Triangle.
Iron Triangle.
I love it.
Thinking about roller coasters.
I'm thinking about roller coasters.
Right.
So one thing when you brought up about the Iron Triangle,
right?
I thought about relationships.
Yes.
And I thought about how important the relationships, where you can only choose the two within that relationship, or with those two that you choose, how important that relationship is.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And what is the expectation once that relationship is built?
Mm.
And it's very important, I think, that with the efficiency is to choose the right relationship that meets the need of the customer.
Absolutely.
So when we start thinking about, like, in our personal standpoint, then like you said, there's many things that we've learned from our backgrounds that we can apply to our personal lives.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And when I think about efficiency, I think about relationship. Okay. Because if you look at efficiency, even though the output should always benefit the next person in line.
Interesting.
Did that make sense? Because
yes, it does.
Because but in order for your efficiency to be the ideal outcome, that means, like you said, there's some work and planning that have to be ahead in order to get that result that you want. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
That relationship has to be built effectively,
right,
in order to create the I think I've already said the outcome. And the reason why I brought that up is because, once again, if you talk about let your words count, we look at efficiency. The one, as we were talking about this word a little bit, there was three words that kind of stood out. Communication, for one. Communication is one, regardless, right?
Right.
But if I'm delivering you a message or a word, I want to be efficient with the
very good point.
I want to be efficient with the words that I share to you.
Very good point.
With using the least amount of words, but the quality has to hit home, so the output and the results can be the ideal situation.
Wow.
Concise, brevity. You know what I'm saying?
Love it.
Yeah. So that's something that's been on my mind.
So that makes again, we're movie buffs too, right? So we talk about movies a lot, and the whole Mind Forge podcast group, we've even had whole episodes dedicated to that, right? But you brought up an important reference, like something kind of popped into my mind when you were saying that. And if you are in a situation and you say, hey, this is like what happened in Gladiator, this is like The Matrix or whatever, with saying those few words with somebody else that's familiar with what you're talking about,
100%.
By those few words, you've conveyed a lot, right? You're kind of drawing all of these parallels and analogies to the situation or conversation that's happening right now, and without saying a whole lot, you communicate
absolutely
a lot with a few words, right?
Beautiful. So
that's what I think is, again, also important about let your words count and about building up your vocabulary, right? Because I'm long-winded, and I'm always, yeah, stop laughing at me, man. Quit picking on me. I'm always trying to find out, and I pause a lot because I'm like, how do I say this without having to go into this long diatribe or whatever else?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an ongoing battle with me. It's the battle of my whole life here. But anyway, that's the point, right? Find the way to communicate the most with the fewest possible words without taking shortcuts, without leaving things out. So with that, let me shut up.
No, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you brought that, because when you're able to paint a picture,
Right.
when you're able to paint a picture clear for the person that you're sharing information
Yes.
with, like you said, like movie buffs, and you
Right.
bring up Gladiator or Die Hard or any of the other ones.
For sure.
Do you remember that time when this happened? You know what I mean? You be like, yeah, I got you, right? See, I think efficiency is you build that relationship up so well that when I look at you in the eyes, you already know what I'm talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
Now that is powerful.
Right.
That's
without saying any words at all.
Without saying any
Absolutely.
words at all.
Absolutely.
So when I used to play basketball with my best friend, man, you know, Fernando, right? Like there's a relationship with players, even with any sport. When you build up that relationship, you become effective. The relationship is quality, or the output is quality. The time when you look at each other's, you feel each other on the courts or on the field,
It's
or whatever
team
the case may be.
dynamics.
It's a team. I don't have to say anymore.
Team dynamics.
That's it.
You learn the actions and the movements and the expectations of your players and your co-players so well that, again, you say a whole lot with just a look.
Yeah.
You don't have to shout orders and whatever. You know that person plays their position, knows what to do, and with the look, you communicate. I'm about to do this alley-oop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he just knows to go towards the hoop and jump for it. Yep.
It's a beautiful thing, man. I love that what you brought up. Dynamics is an IQ within the relationship that's nurtured,
For
right?
sure.
And that's it's getting me excited, because the thing is when you talk about efficiency, there's something that was nurtured, that was in the process in order for you to get to. Efficiency doesn't mean anything unless you put something in place in order to get there. You see what I'm saying?
Very important point. Go ahead.
Because it's stagnant.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like efficiency, and I think that, how do you know? And this is here go my questions again. Is somebody told me this a long time ago. If you can't measure it, how do you improve?
That's right. Absolutely.
So that's kind of like how I look at it.
And going back to one of your favorite sayings that I've started to adopt, because I think it is a relevant thing, right? When you look at a mindset you adopt, something that you believe, something that you whatever, what are you becoming in the process, right? So
yes.
if you're going to talk about efficiency, you have to know what the end goal is.
Yes.
You have to have some kind of idea of what's the expected output, because that's going to be your measure. That's going to determine, okay, now once I get this output, or this once I achieve this result, was the time acceptable that I spent? Was the resources and energy that I spent to get to this result, was that worth it? All these things come into play, and you said a very key word. First you have to know what the expected result or outcome is. But a very key word you said, if you're talking about efficiency, you're not going to achieve it without having a plan, setting priorities, and organizing, right? So, and again, taking these things that we get from our automotive career and bringing that back into life. There's a saying that, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail.
Yes.
Right? So you have to have a plan. You have to have some forethought. Usually being efficient is either a result of some forethought and planning, or time, labor, experience, right? I've done some things so many times that I know the way to do it correct and have great output, great quality, and I spend the minimum amount of time and resources doing it, because it's automatic. I know what's going to get the expected result, and I can implement that. That's experience. And if I don't have experience, I need to prioritize, plan, and organize to make sure I get to that same level of efficiency, right?
So it's funny that you brought that up, because I had this conversation with a buddy of mine at the job today, because I'm gonna throw a term out there. It's called key performance indicators, right? KPIs, right? We're like in I'm sure the corporate realm, they use that quite a bit. We need to get we need to make sure this quarter, we got to make sure we achieve our key performance indicators.
And it's big in manufacturing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure.
And once again, I get it, because once again, if you can't measure it, how can you improve, right?
Absolutely.
Just think about the amount of stress that comes along
For sure.
with those KPIs. and especially when the communication of those KPIs are not absolutely clear for the individual that's supposed to be doing the work.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I've heard so many times about the KPIs. Are the KPIs capable of having smart targets? You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times, the people that are setting these KPIs are nowhere around to even understand what the process is.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
They make, and I'm saying this in general.
For sure.
I apologize if I'm talking like this, but
Getting in work mode.
I'm getting in work mode.
Right.
But I'm thinking about some of your executives and some of your higher management are so high.
Yes.
Okay, let me take a step back. That's the reason why it's important where you get an executive or a higher level manager that have some experiences at the lower levels.
Sure.
Okay, because then they will have an ideal of what's realistic,
Right.
and what's achievable.
Right.
If those deliverables are not achievable, he can call it out and say, okay, by the way, we won't be efficient in this.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Therefore, let's address this differently, or let's put something else in place in order to make sure that this deliverable
Right.
is achieved.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So, okay, I kind of went off the tangent there, but I think the point of the matter is putting things in place that us from a personal level that we're able to achieve.
Yes.
Like, for instance, I hate credit.
Yes, you do.
You know what I'm saying? Like I really do,
Right,
man. I'm working like I ain't got the greatest credit in the whole world. I ain't trying to put my business in the streets like this, right? I'm actually okay, but when you think about the credit score is a form of efficiency, and that efficiency is not really.
That's a good point.
Is not really for your benefit. It really, if you really think about it, I'm just being honest, man.
It is. It's true.
If the OEE, I call it OEE, is okay. OEE means overall equipment efficiency. That's a automotive industrial term. Okay. So if you look at the efficiency of the credit score, if I can use that as an example, it's really not for you. It's really for people to give you more credit. If you are
people to know whether you're safe to invest in or to give credit, right?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Whether it's safe to allow you to use their money on credit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Yes, it's more for the debtor or for whatever.
for the lender.
Yes, for
It's
the
more.
lender.
It's more for the lender, not
Absolutely.
for the debtor itself, right? So, or you know what I mean.
But it's good that it's something that you have control over, right? It's a measure.
Yeah.
It's a measure of how disciplined you are, using one of our past words, right? How disciplined you are in managing your debt and how disciplined you are in paying that debt off quickly. Right. It's a measure of are you in control enough of your spending impulses that you can be trusted to have more credit. So it's a measure, and it's for the lender, but it's one of those things where if we exercise the right discipline and control, we can make it work to our benefit. Which is, I think, again, that's that planning part of it again, right? If we can bring this back from the industrial back into the real life side of it, when it comes to your finances, when it comes to just the kind of person you want to be, how you want your relationships to be, you have control, right? These things are going to be affected based on how you interact, how you perform, how you show up, what kind of mindset you show up with, right? So in terms of efficiency, you want the best possible output. And I hate to say for the minimal time and energy, but for the appropriate time and energy, right? You don't want to be wasteful. You don't want to put more time into it than necessary. If this is a job, if I cut my grass and it takes me an hour to do it well, right? I don't want to go out there and spend 4 or 5 hours if I'm leveled out, if I flatten out the curve on quality after an hour worth of cutting the grass. I'm out there wasting time, spending time doing something that's not improving the quality or the output at all, right? So
that's right.
You don't want to try to, you're not trying to find shortcuts. You're not trying to just, again, take shortcuts and say I want to be lazy and spend the least amount of time. No, I want to find what's the expected output that I have and then put in the appropriate time and energy to get that output. So finances, relationships, you know what I mean? What's the appropriate amount of time and energy that you have to put in to get the outcome and the result that you want? And that's how we bring that efficiency aspect back into real life, right?
Man, that's awesome, man. I was, as while you were talking, I was thinking about the relationship aspect again, right? And if you talk about someone that you're courting or you're dating or you're taking out or whatnot, like with my wife, there's a efficiency aspect that I want to have when I'm dealing with my wife, right? And so it's kind of like one of these things, right, where when you start something, with your wife,
right,
when you no longer do it, right, she gonna be like, you don't do that anymore, like, you know what I'm saying, like,
yes,
you know what I mean, like,
yep.
Use your imagine, you know what I'm talking about, right? So I think that when it comes to relationships like that, we have to there's an awareness, and and I hate to say this, and moving from the relationship from the wife,
right.
And from that,
we won't get in trouble.
I don't want to get in trouble. Right. Because the reason why I want to say this is the controls that you put in place. Because I don't ever want to look at controls that I put in place for my wife, and I don't want her to feel that she have to put controls in place for me.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
This is a relationship, man.
Right.
And I think that the efficiency in that regard, I want to be careful by using efficiency in that regard, right? But I do want to go back to this thought about the control aspect of how about yourself? The self-control.
Interesting.
You have a desired output, right? You see something, you visualize. I love when Brother James said that a couple of days ago about the visualizing something. I see an expected end, and there's certain aspects in place that's not allowing me to get to that desired outcome. Right?
Gotcha.
So there are certain mechanisms that I can put in place that can boost me into that realm of what I visualize and what I see.
Gotcha.
I'm still working towards that.
Always.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, like I'm just being real and honest that efficiency is such a good tool that we should invest in and challenge ourselves to do. Even if you, not from an equipment standpoint, but from a mental, spiritual aspect, if it's something that's hindering us, where to achieve that desired outcome, we should be able to identify that.
Sure.
One thing I will say this and this is a good point. This is a very, very good point that you were making earlier, and I'm gonna add to it, is another point of a desired outcome. I'm gonna use this in an industrial standpoint. So let's say if I'm working at a plant says I have to meet rate at 300 pieces per hour.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's quite a bit, right? That's quite a bit of parts. You're not achieving that. You're only able to do 215, right?
Right.
Management comes along and they say, "What's going on? You're not meeting rate."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What's going on?
Right.
You end up realizing that there was some downtime.
Sure.
The downtime is actually causing your OEE to come from 100% to 80%, right? And probably even lower than that.
Right.
That's that's unacceptable.
Right.
So what the supervisor would do is say, "Hey, let me see what's going on. What's causing this downtime?"
Yes.
In scrap.
Right.
So what you do is identify what is the scrap.
Right.
And when you're able to identify what scrap you have, then you can fix the process.
Where is their waste? Right.
Where's their waste?
Right.
Where there's waste.
Right.
So when you look at that waste, you should analyze the waste.
Sure.
And and I look at that in my life, in my life. I use that in my life, that what waste do I have? You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be kind of I'm gonna be a little facetious here, but at the same time I'm gonna be a little vulgar at the same time, right? But sometimes when you look at your stool, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the bathroom, you can tell what you've been eating, right? And
right.
then you say to yourself, like, man, I need some more greens. Right? Like, oh, Lord. You know what I'm saying?
For y'all who needed a visual.
You know,
Gotcha.
but being absolutely real and being
Right.
out, you are able to, that's waste.
For sure.
That's the scrap, right?
True. It's true.
And then you wonder why you always have a headache.
Right.
You wonder why your stomach is always twisted. It's because what the input is causing a not your desirable outcome is not favorable for you. You understand what I'm saying? And and you have to look at things in that regard. I think we all should kind of challenge ourselves to think of efficiency in that way that is impacting us. I don't feel like I've been talking too much.
No, that's good. That's good, bro. I mean, I think my closing thought for it is also kind of being prepared to deal with frustration, right?
Yeah.
Because if you have an expected outcome or result, sometimes we think we've identified the plan and the path to get to that result, and we're wrong. So you're putting effort in something and you feel like you're slamming your head against the wall because you're putting in effort and time and energy and all these things and not getting the expected result that you want, right? So that can lead to a lot of frustration. It could lead to quitting. It could lead to, somebody dropping out of the fight, out of the race, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And because again, they're frustrated that I'm doing all these things and I'm not getting the result that I want. So sometimes it's a matter of having that patience. It's a matter of having that, you mentioned analysis earlier, right? To kind of look back and say, okay, I'm doing these things. I thought it would get to this result, but I'm not getting this result. I'm getting, I thought it'd give me A, but I'm getting B instead. So go back and analyze, right? How are the things that I'm doing leading to this other output, and what are the things that I need to add into my process or my whatever, my routine, to get the output that I desire. So having the time to analyze, and again, time we can't always control, what those boundaries or those deadlines are. But if you have the time, kind of, be reflective and thinking about, again, your question, what am I becoming? Am I getting the output that I expect and that I desire with the energy and the effort that I'm putting in? And if not, I got to change things, right? So
Man, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's so true. I think it's a living breathing thing that we're doing. And then I think we have to be honest about it and be real about it.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's about improvement.
Right.
What are we doing this for if we don't want to get better?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's about getting better each day.
That's right.
I'm talking about starting right now.
That's
Every second is about getting better. You know what I mean? That's what we want.
That's what it is.
Hopefully everyone that's watching or listening, our heart goes out to you. Challenge yourself all the time to become better.
For sure.
That's what we want.
That's what it is.
Challenge me.
Yep.
Challenge Gary.
That's right.
I'll challenge everyone, your children, to just be better,
That's right.
No one's, and that's the thing, it's like no one's going to do it. No one's going to do it for you. You're going to have to do it yourself, right?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
But I'm good.
I'm spent, bro. That's it.
Please like, share, and subscribe.
That's right.
And please join us next time. All right?
All right.
If you leave a comment,